Hey folks, this is the Yaku Cosmopolitan. I just released my updated Samurai Japan World Baseball Classic Dream Team, and it's been generating quite a bit of buzz on Twitter. So I thought I would make a video to talk through my selections as of early October. The WBC itself is obviously not until next March, but the selection period is beginning like right after the season ends, and we're going to know what the roster looks like by January. So really excited to, see how Japan ends up looking under Hirokazu Ibata. But what I've done here is I have divided the pitching staff in terms of starters, followers, relievers, and closer. I think this is probably more fitting for a tournament like the WBC instead of like just, traditional starters and right-handed, left-handed. Like the way they are deployed in a short tournament like this is you have starters, they're on a strict pitch limit, so you're getting 4, maybe 5 innings max out of them, and then you have these followers who can give you bulk innings right after them, 3-4 innings as well. Relievers, I see them as kind of like the high leverage firemen for the 7th, 8th, 9th, and then closer obviously for the final inning when you're leading. But the starters I have selected here: Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, Shunpei Yamashita for the Oryx Buffaloes, and then Tatsuya Imai for the Seibu Lions. For the longest time, I was kind of looking at Ohtani as the closer for this team, and that still may end up being the case, but just the way, recent developments have gone for LA with Roki Sasaki being the closer this postseason and then Ohtani still starting has made me kind of change my mind. Ultimately, I think this comes down to whatever Ohtani wants. Like, if he wants to be a starter, let him start. If he wants to load manage, take it easy a little bit, let him just be the closer. I think both are totally fine. But yeah, Yamamoto, I would say right now is a top 4 or 5 pitcher in the world, right behind the likes of, Paul Skeens, Turk Skubal, Garrett Crochet. Yamamoto's right there with them. And he was obviously, historically good in MPB as well. So Yamamoto's the ace. Ohtani's not going to be able to give you the same kind of length as a Yamamoto reliably, but in terms of the stuff, obviously is electric. Yamashita is the best pitcher, or the most talented pitcher at least, in Japan right now, and I don't think there's really a question about that. Some people will say like, oh, he barely pitched this year, like how can you really trust him? I don't really care about the sample size. I just know in terms of this guy's stuff and his talent, he's already among the best in the world. Sits 96 to 98 on the fastball. His splitter and curveball are both just absolutely elite. In the small sample so far this year, he has a 40% strikeout rate. Yes, that lumbar injury that he always has lingering is a little bit concerning. So I just hope that he is healthy for a tournament like this. But I think you really should consider him in the rotation because he's that good. And then Imai wants to get posted to MLB. We'll see if that happens this year or next year. I'm guessing probably next year because Seibu's already posting Kona Takahashi. But again, in terms of stuff, I mean, the velo is excellent. Elite slider. I think, he is a no-brainer for this kind of starting rotation. Followers, Shota Imanaga for the Cubs, Hiromi Miyagi for the Oryx Buffaloes, Hiromi Ito for the Nippon Ham Fighters, Atsuki Taneichi for the Lotte Marines, Chihiro Sumida for the Seibu Lions. Imanaga, interchangeable. I mean, you could stick him in the rotation if you want. Obviously, he's been excellent in his 2 MLB seasons so far. I think he's far exceeded expectations. I mean, he was very good in MPB, but it's like he's almost been just as good in MLB. Obviously, he's a fly ball guy, though, and he can be susceptible to the long ball. Was more of a follower during the 2023 edition of the tournament, so I kind of like him more in that role. Miyagi there for Oryx complements Yamashita so well because Yamashita is just such a north-south profile, and then Miyagi is complete opposite. He's east to west with all those, breaking balls. Not much of in the way of velo, but still gets a ton of strikeouts. His command is outstanding. Perfect, again, for this kind of follower role, I think. Ito leads MPB in innings and strikeouts. Super deep arsenal. I kind of view him as like Yu Darvish's protege. I think he's phenomenal. Tanaichi started the year really badly, was honestly among the worst starters in MPB for the first half, but second half has just been absolutely outstanding. Recently had a 15 strikeout game with 42 whiffs, which is a record. And yeah, I mean, the way he has been throwing the ball these last few months, I think you have to include him. You have to ride the hot hand. And then Chihiro Sumida had a big career year as well. Love his changeup splitter, and then he's another lefty to throw in the mix, so that matters as well. In terms of, other options, there's guys like Hiroto Takahashi, Iori Yamasaki, the two Hanshin guys, Hiroto Saiki, Shoki Murakami, and then obviously the MLB guys like Yu Darvish, Yusei Kikuchi, Kodai Senga, and then Koki Kitayama, another guy who's been really, really good this year, towards the top of the ERA leaderboard. But honestly, I just did not have spots for them. Takahashi, if this was before the season started, he's like a lock because he was so good in 2024, won the ERA title, has that, elite splinter, throws hard. But he was honestly rather mediocre this year. Towards the end, he started to get the velo back up a bit, and I think his cutter's been coming along well. So I still like him, but I don't think he's, quite in the best form right now. Iori Yamasaki is kind of similar to Takahashi in the sense that he's this, ground ball guy with a splinter, and kind of changed his approach this year. Was really good to start the season, kind of teetered off a bit towards the end. So again, not including him. The Hanshin guys, Murakami and Saiki, both very good. I think they know their strengths very well. Murakami, deep arsenal guy. Saiki just spams that fastball. Maybe he goes to MLB next year. And then Darvish, veteran presence. Would love to have him as a coach, but I just don't think you can really pick him as a pitcher right now. Kikuchi and Senga, if this was a couple months ago, like All-Star break. Again, yeah, it's like, yeah, you should include these guys, but they didn't really finish that strong. I mean, in the case of Senga, he got demoted, accepted an assignment to the minors. I also think he's probably hurt. So at this moment, can't really include them. And then Kitayama, very hard for me to leave him off. I had him right there up until, Tanaichi went on this recent run of just excellence. So I had to kind of replace him with Tanaichi. Relievers, Shinya Matayama for the Chunichi Dragons, Taisei for the Yomiuri Giants, Kaima Taira for the Seibu Lions, Kazuki Sugiyama for the SoftBank Hawks, and then Daichi Ishii for the Hanshin Tigers. We'll start backwards. Ishii just put up the best ERA in MPB history at 0.17. He allowed one run all year in over 50 innings, and he finished with like 50 consecutive scoreless appearances. So the splitter is just absolutely diabolical. And even though some of his underlying numbers honestly aren't all that great, like he's not much of a strikeout pitcher, surprisingly, at least this year, like he has been in the past. But, when you put up a 0.17 ERA, I think you've earned a spot on Samurai Japan. And also, I think he just probably gives a lot of confidence to the guys defending behind him. It's like Ishii comes in the game and mentally everyone's going to be like, okay, we got this game locked down. Sugiyama has always had the talent and the ability to succeed, but always, kind of struggled with command. But this year, has slotted in so well to the Hawks closer role once Roberto Osuna got replaced. He's basically a pure, fastball splitter, but really, really good. Taira, I do believe once Kona Takahashi gets posted and Imai, he will move back into Seibu's rotation. He's still kind of trying to throw like a starter right now, even as he is their closer in terms of he throws so many different pitches, which is just completely unheard of for a reliever. But he's just so cerebral, understands the game at a deep level, throws super hard for his size. Kaima Taira, I think you have to include him. Taisei, I wouldn't even say had the best season, like relative to his skills. In 2024, he was really at his best, sub-1 ERA, lots of ground balls, lots of strikeouts. But even when he's not at his best, which I don't think he was this year, he still put up like 50 holds and, throws really hard from that, sidearm slot, nasty splitter and slider off of that. So Taisei is a must include for me. And then Shinya Matsuyama, what a wonderful job by the youngster replacing Rydell Martinez as Chunichi's closer this year. 46 saves, and he is electric, and he's also just extremely deceptive with his mechanics and delivery. So I think he is very well suited for international play. And then Roki Sasaki, again, just based on the fact that he has been closing for the Dodgers and appears to have kind of found his form again in this role in terms of the fact that he's back to throwing 100 plus, which he has not been doing for like at least 2 years at this point. I would obviously like to see him become a starter again. That's where really, his talent lies. 2022, 2023, I do believe he was one of the best pitchers in the world. And he was this, super prospect, so to speak. But injuries and just, almost like the yips, I suppose. It's just like he has not really looked like himself. He looked awful as a starter, quite frankly, to start the year with the Dodgers. But, whatever it takes to get the most out of him for this tournament is what you should do. So, again, like him or Ohtani, I feel like either one could be the closer. But right now, I'll go with Roki. Moving on to position players. Catchers, Shogo Sakakura for the Hiroshima Carp, Yukinori Kishida for the Yomiuri Giants, Yudai Yamamoto for the DNA Bay Stars. There's a lot of other guys that you could go with in this domain. Kenya Wakatsuki for Oryx obviously knows Yamashita, Miyagi, Yamamoto really well, has the rapport with them, so he'd be a great inclusion. Seishiro Sakamoto, arguably the best defensive catcher in MPB, and actually had a sneaky good year offensively here in 2025, which is surprising because he's usually not that good with the bat in his hands. And then, even a guy like Uetamiya for the Fighters is a pretty good kind of bat-first catcher. So honestly, if they go with like any of these three guys, I would be happy. Just like as long as they're moving on from that old guard of Yuhei Nakamura and Taki Akai. I would say defensively speaking, it's like Sakamoto and Yamamoto are in a class of their own. And then Kishida is really good as well, actually. But the reason I have gone with these three is mostly offensive related. Like Sakakura at the Premier 12, OPS over 1,000. I mean, I know he didn't have the best season in 2025, and a lot of people will say like, oh, he doesn't deserve a spot because of that. But lefty, and just I think he's a very talented hitter. So even if his defense is average to below average, I think pairing him with these righties is really good. Kishida, probably the best two-way catcher in Japan right now. I mean, he had a great second half after Taki Akai went down for the Giants. I think he has broken out fully and established himself. So I think he's probably deserving of the starter role even. Yamamoto in 2024 was fantastic. 2025 took him a while to get going with the bat, but again, any of these guys I think should. I wouldn't mind if any of them became the primary catcher for the national team. It's just about who can get the most comfortable with the pitching staff, get the most out of them. And you just have to carry three, unfortunately, even though one of these guys is barely going to play. Because if they end up going to, Miami, then you only have two, one of them gets injured, you're in trouble. So that's the kind of thought process behind that. Infield is pretty similar to what they had in 2023. The first, half of it at least. Kazuma Okamoto for the Yomiuri Giants, Shugo Maki for the DNA Bay Stars, Munetaka Murakami for the Yakult Swallows, soon to be on an MLB team, of course. So we'll see what happens in terms of maybe if he's going to MLB, he wants to have the full spring training. That changes a lot of things. But yeah, first base, second base, third base, that is solidified in my mind. And then it comes down to shortstop, which I'm giving to Yuta Izuguchi for the Yomiuri Giants. Kotaro Kuribayashi for the Oryx Buffaloes is the other shortstop I've included. I think a lot of people right now, because he is going to win the batting title, they would say Kaito Kozono for the Hiroshima Carp deserves it. Early in the season, I was kind of advocating for Rui Munayama for the Rakuten Eagles, a rookie, a guy you can, dream on for being the long-term guy, kind of like a Sosuke Genda, but I don't think he quite had the rookie year he was hoping for. I mean, he was fine, but I don't think he did anywhere near what he needed to deserve a spot on the team. And there's a few other guys you could definitely consider, but Izuguchi, he hit 300 this year, showed off a little bit of power, and was honestly a really good defender. So I think he's completely earned it. The problem with Kozono is he's a bad fielder. Not just at shortstop, but second base, third base, does not rate well defensively at all, and I don't think he provides enough offensively, honestly. Yes, he's a great bat-to-ball guy. At the Premier 12, he even hit for a little bit of power, but ultimately, I don't really think there's room for him on this team. Kuribayashi, I think, is, still maybe not at his full potential, but he has power, had a really good second half, hits lefties well, so I think you can platoon him with Izuguchi. I considered Isami Nomura for SoftBank as well, but Isami Nomura strikes out a lot. Second half strikeout rate was one of the worst in the league. Not a great defender. And yes, you can argue that Kuribayashi is not the best defender either, but I think he is pretty athletic. He makes really good plays, flashy highlight reel plays from time to time. So he's not a guy I feel uncomfortable with if he's at short. Has some national team experience as well. So these are my shortstops. And then Teruaki Sato for the Hanshin Tigers, just had a 40-homer season. Super happy for him. I've been waiting for him to do that for many years. Finally was able to manifest it here in 2025. But his bat speed, his power is right up there with, the likes of Munetaka Murakami and Kazuma Okamoto. It's really special power that he possesses. And before Murakami came back from injury this year, it looked like, Sato had kind of stolen that starting third base job from him. Even the way Murakami he hadn't been bad the last 2 years, but he had kind of started to regress, whereas, Sato was trending upward. And he finished strong, but I just think Murakami, what he showed in the 2 months that he did play, kind of even outshined that. So Sato, not the end of the world for him though, because he can play outfield. So there's still a path for him to actually be a starter. And I guess we'll get into that next, because the outfield, what I have here is Seiya Suzuki for the Cubs, Lars Nootbaar for the Cardinals, Kensuke Kondo for the SoftBank Hawks, Masataka Yoshida for the Red Sox, Shota Morishita for the Hanshin Tigers, and then Ukyo Shuto for the SoftBank Hawks as well. Sato can play right field, so if we consider him as an outfield, then just look at how many options they have out there, and that doesn't even include Chusei Manami and Shun Mizutani, the two Nippon Ham Fighters guys who I think deserve a lot of consideration as well, not least because they can actually play center field. They're better in the corners, but they're both really good hitters, have a lot of power, and they can play center, and that's crucial because out of this group here, these first 5-6 guys, none of them can play center except Nootbaar, and that's really what is driving Nootbaar, onto this team at this point. I know he didn't have the best year in MLB surface level wise, still some really good underlying stuff, but it's mostly the fact that he is a true center fielder. I know he actually plays more left for the Cardinals, but the point is he can play a major league center field. A couple of key catches for Japan in 2023, and he makes a lot of nice plays for the Cardinals. So I think that alone still earns him a spot there in center, in a starting capacity. I just don't really trust a lot of other people Japan has for center field. And that's, especially so because Suzuki, who I think you put in left, is not very good anymore defensively. Kondo is a really good defender, but very banged up in recent years, and I don't think you really kind of want him to overexert himself out there. Masataka Yoshida, for a while, I wasn't even really considering him for the team anymore because wasn't in great form and was barely even playing, honestly, for the Red Sox, but was just so important for them down the stretch. And then in game 1 against the Yankees, came through with a clutch 2-run single. We know what he did in 2023, the semifinals against Mexico with that game-tying 3-run shot. He's just a guy that you feel so much like comfort in, and he just like oozes this like level of confidence and bravado at the plate. Obviously an elite hit tool. So even if he's just a bench bat and he doesn't have a defensive home, I kind of really want to include him at this point. And then in terms of like the right-handed, power bat off the bench, Shota Morishita, Chusei Manami, Shin Mizutani, I've gone with Morishita just because, he had the best year out of all of them. Everyday player, over 20 homers, good defensively in right field, hit cleanup at the Premier 12 as well. So I think everything's kind of been building up for him to be on this team. And then Shuto is mostly there as a pinch runner / defensive replacement, to be honest. He had a pretty good year offensively as well. And he's honestly really the only other kind of like true center field option I would be willing to consider for Japan. There's Koji Shikamoto for Hanshin, but I think Shuto's a better defender anyway. So that's where things get tough because, if you sit Nootbaar, then you kind of need Manami or Mizutani there. Like, then you could do an alignment that's like, you can really play around with it. You could go, Seiya in left. You could go, Mizutani in center and Sato in right. You could do something like that. But if you don't have Mizutani or Manami, then, these other guys can't play center. So Nootbaar is kind of locked into place there. And then it's just a matter of, do you want, Yoshida, Kondo, Sato, Morishita for the other corner outfield. For me, I would say, just because I'm just like so enamored with Kondo's like consistency, like always putting up on base percentage over 400, super consistent, probably the best all around player in the world that's not in MLB, to be honest. I think Kondo should be out there. Was great in 2023 at the WBC. Kind of standing in for Seiya Suzuki at the time, who got injured right before the tournament. But I think, Sato, I kind of, right now, he's on the outside looking in just because of the Murakami situation. But, sometimes there's like an injury in spring training and the problem ends up solving itself. You got Ohtani at DH, so that does kind of, make things less flexible as well. Like, obviously, if you had the DH spot open, you could move in like Sato or Yoshida in that regard. Or even Yuki Yanagita, who, during his prime days never got a chance to play for Japan at the WBC, and he's been wanting this opportunity, so it's kind of sad that I don't think he can really be there. But this is what I have for my dream team as of October. Still a lot of time for things to change. They're playing Korea next month in an exhibition series to kind of, prepare for the tournament. And there's a lot of guys I didn't even mention who, very well may be considered for the roster. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more MPB content in English.